You're not going to have to even think about that. Frankly, it won't matter because they're going to be here for a long time, a lot longer than that. There will be no layoffs and no outsourcing whatsoever. And every U.S. steel worker will soon receive a well-deserved $5,000 bonus. That's very rare. Thank you very much. That's great. That's importantly. For what you've gone through a lot. It's closing, it's not closing, it's opening, and you want to stay here. People say, well, we'll move to another place, or we'll do chips, or we'll do something like chips. Somehow you don't want to do chips. I'm looking at these giant guys with the giant arms. You're not going to like doing chips. Most importantly,
Donald Trump experiencing moments of cognitive failure in his speeches, losing his mind, stunning the crowd, is no longer the exception. It is just the rule at this point. We go into a Donald Trump speech expecting him to say something crazy, which is exactly what he did today when speaking to a group of steel workers in Pittsburgh when he announced something about his tariffs that was deeply disturbing to everyone there. And you could see the faces of these guys behind Trump concerned and looking at each other, not just because of how weird Trump was throughout, but because of what he admitted about his tariffs that should scare us all. We're going to get into it. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button. It goes a long way and it really does mean a lot to me. Now, of course, we have been constantly covering the economic disaster that has come from these tariffs, and we're going to in this speech. But before we do, Jessica Tarlov today on Fox made such a great point about the message Trump is trying to deliver that I want to start with it right here.
That's his thing. If whoever sits in that seat, if you like half agree with him, then he says that he's right. Give up your tax cut and we'll talk about some cost savings. We'll go, I mean, Pete Hegseth promised us an audit of the Pentagon.
It's never passed.
It's never passed, and they're getting a bigger budget. Well, let's talk about cuts to national defense. What do you think?
I love
All right, anyway,
is there waste within the Pentagon?
What?
Is there waste within the Pentagon?
Yeah, I'm sure there's waste everywhere. But at the moment where you are supposed to be talking about waste, you don't need this massive transfer of wealth to the wealthy. And the 2017 Trump tax cuts actually did have more for the lower classes than this package does. Mm-hmm. People earning over $50,000, their incomes are going to go down. People earning over, what is it, 4 million for sure, and I think even over 2.5 million are going to get a lot more money.
How?
Because of their cut, because of the tax cuts.
Jessica,
I need to say something to Elon Musk, though.
The same.
If that was a Democratic Doge master that showed up with a shiner and there was a report that he did so much ketamine that he couldn't pee straight, you would be leading your show with it, 100%.
Can I bring in Greg here? Because
Trump is going to talk to these steel workers today to kind of present himself as some messiah, the man of the working class that this Republican Party, this MAGA movement, claims that it is. But every action they're taking right now is anything but that Donald Trump's tariffs are a tax on working people, and people are losing their jobs because of the economic uncertainty being created by Donald Trump. And at the same time, like Jessica said, his current budget plan is the biggest transfer of wealth from the working poor to the rich we have ever seen. So Donald Trump pretending that he actually cares. Yeah, it's pretty easy to see through, especially when he started this speech just talking about himself in the wall.
but they allowed that to happen. I built almost 700 miles of wall. If we didn't have the wall, we could have never done what we did. Over 700 miles, but still they came because they didn't want to finish. They didn't want to close up any gap, the gaps that we had to keep so that we could get our equipment out, so we could get through. They didn't want to put up the final stages. It would have taken 3 weeks to put up the final stages. They said, no, we don't want the wall built.
Admitting that your own signature policy that you didn't actually get done is a complete failure because you didn't think it through enough is just hilarious levels of incompetence. Not really. Because it's sad how unfortunately kind of funny it is that even Donald Trump recognized that he built a fence that didn't work instead of a wall that also wouldn't have worked. But it wasn't the only example of Donald Trump kind of just going off and saying ridiculous things. He started to talk about his tariffs in this first clip right here. And then afterwards, we're going to check out the weird kind of announcement or admission that he made that made it all the much more scary.
But he's great. He's great at what he does. We are going to be imposing a 25% increase. We're going to bring it from 25% to 50% the tariffs on steel into the United States of America, which will even further secure the steel industry in the United States. Nobody's going to get around that. So we're bringing it up from 25%, we're doubling it to 50%, and that's a loophole. And by the way, I have to tell you, I believe that this group of people that just made these investments right now are very happy, because that means that nobody's going to be able to steal your industry. It's at 25%, they can sort of get over that fence. At 50%, they can no longer get over the fence. So congratulations to everybody and to you for making a great deal. You just made a better deal, right? I said to the group, would you rather have a 40% increase? Because I was thinking about 40 when I came. I said, would you rather have a 40% or a 50%? They said, we'll take 50. I said, I had a feeling you were going to say that.
This is how Donald Trump's tariffs operate, and we're going to hear in a little bit later from our good friend of the show, Tim Miller, who talked about some of the scary aspects of Donald Trump's presidency. But he's just kind of changing them whenever he wants. It's 25, then it's 50. They're on, and then they're off. They're up, and then they're down. We're negotiating and have a deal. But then the deal is paused or stalled. No one really knows what's happening. And that's the uncertainty that we talk about. And it's the uncertainty that was recognized by every guy there when Donald Trump announced how he came up with the decision to impose these tariffs.
I said to the group, would you rather have a 40% increase? Because I was thinking about 40 when I came. I said, would you rather have a 40% or a 50%? They said, we'll take 50. I said, I had a feeling you were going to say that. So congratulations. Also congratulations to Dave, because you got this whole thing started. Congratulations. Great job. Great job.
You can see the crowd behind Trump is kind of like, what is this guy even saying? They're a little confused. They're a little uncomfortable. A little stunned and really quiet until he tries to deliver that applause line at the end. Because what is he saying? He just comes up with the tariff numbers on the fly. You know, we've speculated this when it was, revealed that the algorithm used by the Trump administration to come up with their initial tariff numbers, 1 was wrong, and 2 was AI, and 3 wasn't calculated correctly. But these do just come out of thin air. It's out of this guy's mind, and his mind is broken. Donald Trump is very clearly in cognitive decline. He is in complete distress. Even his lawyers are admitting it, trying to win a lawsuit against CBS. Donald Trump is not well, and it is his broken brain that's running the world economy and running it into the ground. That is what he is admitting in this moment. And that's why these guys who are like, what is he saying? Even they can understand how nonsensical this is. So Donald Trump tried to save it, and it didn't go too well.
You're not going to have to even think about that. Frankly, it won't matter, because they're going to be here for a long time, a lot longer than that. There will be no layoffs and no outsourcing whatsoever. And every U.S. steel worker will soon receive a well-deserved $5,000 bonus. That's very rare. Thank you very much. That's great. That's importantly. For what you've gone through a lot. It's closing, it's not closing, it's opening, and you want to stay here. People say, well, we'll move to another place, or we'll do chips, or we'll do something like chips. Somehow you don't want to do chips. I'm looking at these giant guys with the giant arms. You're not going to like doing chips. Most important.
So now he's just like promising them money, just bags of cash. He's like, I don't know. You're not going to lose your job and someone's giving you money. I don't know who it is, but I'm going to take credit for it. This is insanity. But again, it is a broken man trying to run our economy, and he is failing at it. He is failing. And Tim Miller broke all of that down, and why we should be concerned on MSNBC right here.
The individual stories of people who are thinking about equipment that won't come in, and it's very easy to track through how that will affect their lives over the next 2, 3, 4, 5 months. Those truck drivers who won't have goods to truck across the country, they also won't be stopping at gas stations to buy a sandwich, and then the sandwich demand falls off and on it goes. But I think it's actually the effects are far deeper than that. There's an asset here that really matters called American credibility. There was a time when the president opened his mouth when you had to pay attention because you thought it meant something, that it was a shift in policy that other countries could rely on and respond to. That's no longer the case. In fact, on Wall Street right now, and it's one level funny and another level tragic, there's a trade called the taco trade, TACO, Trump always chickens out. And the problem, of course, is that what we're really not seeing is the businesses that aren't being started. So somewhere there's an MBA student who just finished school who's thinking about starting some sort of import-export business. There's a factory that could be built, except for one of the most important imports we get from the European Union is precision machinery. And that either just went up 50% or went up 10%, but no one can be sure. And so those are the stores and the businesses and the factories we'll never see.
What he is going off of, none of these people do, and that's what Donald Trump ultimately wants. It's why he has surrounded himself with incompetent and unqualified reality TV show hosts or Fox personalities because he doesn't want them doing their job. He just wants them doing publicity stunts. Well, he comes up in his broken brain with whatever the next scheme is. That's how our country is being run. It is incompetence in the highest order, and we need to call it out. We're certainly going to on this show every single day. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video, and if you stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. And until next time, I'll see you soon.